It was only 35 years ago that fans and players were of the belief that European and international players in general were not of a high enough standard to compete in the world's best basketball league, the NBA. However, following the influence of Hakeem Olajuwon, who proved to many that international prospects were of a high enough quality to not just compete in college and in the NBA, but dominate. Others would continue to showcase the talent possessed around the world. The Soviet Union's less stringent restrictions resulted in the likes of Drazen Petrovic, Vlade Divac, and Toni Kukoc, amongst others, showcasing their talents and the talents of Europeans in general, which would go away to breaking the stigma that Americans had placed on the talents of European and international basketballers. Now fast forward to the current day, you have the soon-to-be back-to-back MVP hailing from Greece. You have last season's most improved player hailing from Cameroon, and the two best big men in the league are both from foreign countries. So the NBA is becoming more and more global by the year, and as a result the quality of play is increasing, and it seems as though every year there are a number of European prospects that showcase a unique skill set that makes them incredibly intriguing prospects with high upside. Last year Sekou Doumbouya showed a combination of ball handling, touch from beyond the arc, and athleticism that saw him picked at the end of the lottery, which I expect to be a steal. The year prior saw one of the best prospects in recent memory, Luka Doncic, join the Dallas Mavericks with the 3rd overall pick. Spanning back to 2013, we have seen a European prospect selected in the lottery every year, with 5 of the last 35 top 5 picks being of European descent, and this streak is certain to continue, with a slew of top prospects likely to be picked around the lottery, and 2 of those lottery prospects are potential top 5 picks in Deni Avdija and Killian Hayes. However, amongst the highly rated prospects in Avdija and Hayes, Aleksej Pokusevski might be this year's most interesting prospect. 7 feet tall, just over 200 pounds, Pokusevski has a unique combination of length, athleticism, and skill, making him one of the most talented prospects in this year's draft. Needless to say, it is very rare that you get rookies who have no flaws in their game. While every rookie and player in general has some kind of flaw in their game, Michael Jordan wasn't a great three-point shooter. LeBron James isn't great from the free throw line. The greatest players of all time struggle at certain aspects of the game. But my point is, you will rarely find an incredibly polished draft prospect, particularly as a teenager. So with that in mind, teams will often focus their attention on players with very high upside, which can turn out to be the best decision their franchise has ever made. Like the Milwaukee Bucks selecting a young Giannis Antetokounmpo at the end of the lottery, or it can set your franchise back years. Now, I'm not here to say if a team were to select Pokusevski, he has a chance to set their franchise back years, because that would be incredibly pessimistic and frankly wrong considering his projected position in the draft. But he does have the potential to become the next player to fulfill his incredibly high upside. So what makes Pokusevski so unique? There aren't very many players, regardless of position or height, that show an ability to shoot the ball from beyond the arc, beat opponents off the dribble, hit teammates in stride with a number of different passes, and demonstrate good instincts on defense. So when a 7-foot 18-year-old center demonstrates an ability to do all of those things mentioned, you take note. Generally speaking, players close to 7 foot or above 7 foot are interesting prospects. There is often a standout trait that they possess which allows them to dominate their level of competition. For instance, a player out of this year's draft, James Wiseman, is incredibly athletic and is gifted with a 7'6" wingspan. The combination of his elite athleticism and wingspan allow him to finish particularly well at the rim and block numerous shots, drawing comparisons to other freaks in the NBA currently. However, for Wiseman, his shot selection and overall shooting stroke is a big drawback for him currently. You then have the likes of Kristaps Porzingis and Karl Anthony Towns, who have been coined unicorns for their ability to shoot from beyond the arc. And with the ever-changing NBA landscape that is more suited to teams that have shooters at all 5 positions on the floor, these players are incredibly desirable and make a huge impact on offense because of the spacing that you receive from your tallest player being able to shoot from anywhere on the floor. Now, these are just a couple of examples. There are obviously numerous other 7-foot players who have unique skill sets, the likes of Nikola Jokic, who might be the NBA's best passer, full stop, and he occupies the center position. However, what does all of this mean? These are some of the best big men in the league, But despite being so incredibly good, they all have their faults. It's evident that Jokic's mobility and lack of athleticism is particularly troubling on the defensive end of the floor. Now, skinny Jokic might be a different beast, but we don't know that yet. Then you have Towns, who is also a defensive liability, and we have already mentioned some of Wiseman's downfalls. Now, it would be ludicrous for me to say Pokusevski occupies all the elite traits that these big men have, because that's just not true. But what makes Pokusevski so unique is from what we have seen in his game so far. It wouldn't be unreasonable to expect him to become a very capable shooter at the NBA level, a great passer, and a good defender as well. Something that not many people above 7 foot could claim to be able to do. So you've heard all the positives and potential that he has shown throughout his young career, and you are probably thinking to yourself, why is he not the number 1 rated prospect in this year's class, or considered a top 5 prospect? Quite simply, competition, sample size, and productivity. Pokusevski was playing his trade in the Greek 2nd Division in his most recent season, which is far from a farmers' league as football fans would term Europe's lower leagues, but evidently it is not at the level of the EuroLeague or other major leagues around the world. In addition to the competition, a sample size of 11 games is hardly enough to expect to translate to an entire NBA or G League season. And finally, productivity. Numbers of 11, 8, and 3, alongside close to 2 blocks per game on 23 minutes a game, are impressive. But it's hardly enough to suggest that the productivity will translate against much tougher competition in the NBA or G League. But let's just disregard the productivity and the league and recognize the talent and potential that Pokusevski has displayed throughout the last couple of years, and we would see exactly why he's one of this year's highest upside prospects. Now, from a shooting perspective, he isn't just a shooter in theory like a number of 7-footers, players who supposedly have the potential to shoot from beyond the arc because they can knock down free throws. Pokusevski is a player who has shown the ability to shoot from beyond the arc and not just from a standstill position. On multiple occasions, he has shown an ability to shoot off movement, whether that be off ball movement into space before triggering a 3 like we see all the best 3-point shooters do, or whether it be demonstrating an ability to shoot off a momentum dribble. In addition to his 3-point shooting, he also showed some incredibly promising signs when shooting from the mid-range. There were occasions where he would run the floor before stopping on a dime and shooting from about 15 feet, showing off a combination of all his strengths. Another aspect of his game that is undeniable is his fluidity. 7 feet tall, 18 years old, and very lanky, would often be associated with awkward, uncontrolled movements. But Pokusevski is far from that. He moves like a 3 or a 4, which is incredible given his size. He can move off ball to get open, like I've mentioned, or he can run the floor and finish lobs at the rim. Now, this fluidity ties into his ability to handle the ball. The combination of his movement and handle allows him to change directions very effectively. On multiple occasions in his highlights, you will see him handle the ball all the way up the court, either stopping for a pull-up, offloading the ball, or going all the way to the rack on occasions. Another great aspect of his game is his passing. He has shown a variety of passes, demonstrating a nice touch on more simple passes, like finding teammates on backdoor cuts, or kicking to the open man if the defender closes out on him. But in addition to the simple passes, he can make more advanced passes, like kicking the ball out to a 3-point shooter when being chased off the 3-point line. Now, being able to make that pass to an open man when being chased off the 3-point line is incredibly important, as it obviously prevents him from being a one-dimensional player when catching the ball behind the arc. Defensively, he has the tools to become a good defender. The combination of his lateral movement and timing makes for someone who could switch onto positions 3 through 5 and stay in front of his man. He has also shown an ability to protect the rim throughout his young career, averaging just shy of 2 blocks per game throughout this season on limited minutes. However, despite the abundance of positive traits and potential, the obvious downfall for Pokusevski at this point in time is his size and strength. To play the center position in the NBA, you either need to be incredibly athletic or very strong, or more often than not, both. And at this point in time, he is neither. As I mentioned, his movement is incredible for his size, and he is not unathletic, but he is not exactly jumping out the gym. From a strength perspective, he just isn't physically ready to match it with NBA level bigs. He was often moved from his defensive stance when matched up in the post, and this has a lot to do with his lack of strength in his lower body. This lack of strength also ties into his biggest offensive weakness. His shooting percentage is incredibly low for a center because of his struggles at finishing around the rim. This has a lot to do with his struggles trying to finish through contact. However, the good thing about this weakness is that with the NBA level strength and conditioning, the physical weaknesses that he has displayed can be rectified and make him an even more promising player than he currently is. It's easy to compare Pokusevski to other undeveloped, tall prospects that have come out of Europe or college in recent years. The likes of Giannis and Porzingis are immediate names to draw comparisons, and rightfully so. These are players that reached near the peak of their potential, and that is what you hope a player like Pokusevski can replicate. He is unlikely to ever reach the athletic dominance that Giannis has attained, but there are definitely similarities in the way a young Giannis used to handle the ball and run the floor, and how Pokusevski handles and runs the floor. It is genuinely difficult to find a comparison for this talented young center. If he were to fill out like Giannis, there would be similarities in their game. Their lateral movement and end-to-end ball handling, plus fluidity, are somewhat comparable. But there is no way you can expect every 7-foot teenager to become one of the most imposing athletes in NBA history. What I do know is that Pokusevski has a skill set that not many 7-footers in recent draft history have possessed. And if he can fill out, I'm certain of his ability to become an NBA-level starter with all the potential in the world to become an NBA-level star. Now, you may be no clearer on who this young player plays like, but what you do know is that he has all the tools to become a very good NBA player, and that's really what matters when it comes down to it. If you made it to this part of the video, I would hope you enjoyed the video, and if that's the case, hit that subscribe button, and maybe the like button as well. It doesn't cost you anything, and there will be more NBA and basketball content to come over the coming months. Other than that, enjoy your day.